Hello, everybody. We'll wait a couple of minutes before starting the webinar. Hi, Lika. Hi, Milton.
Made it.
Hi, Chuba.
Hi, sorry, I've been trying for a long time to join, but there's confusion between TPSF instructions and Katharina's instructions from Air Center. So I was...
Yeah, because it's a special link for the panelists. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Salma, nice to see you.
Yeah, hello. Nice to see you too again.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. And you?
Me too. Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Same here.
Okay, I think we can start our session today. So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your time zone. And welcome to this new webinar of the Trevor Platt Science Foundation. The foundation, as you know, is an international organization dedicated to capacity building in science, research, and education related to our oceans, working towards stewardship of our planet for future generations. Today's webinar is one of the capacity building activities of the foundation. And before introducing our interesting speaker today, a couple of instructions. As you notice, your microphones are off. And please write your questions in the Q&A box instead of the chat, and we'll get to them at the end of the webinar. So today's speaker is Salma Sheini. She's an Assistant Fisheries Manager at Ghana's Fisheries Commission, where she works on water quality analysis, marine litter monitoring, and fish stock assessment within the Fisheries Scientific Survey Division. She has taken part in international research expeditions aboard the Dr. Fridtjof Nansen and the Statsraad Lehmkuhl, studying zooplankton, particularly copepods, across hydrographic gradients in collaboration with ESA, NASA, and the Plymouth Marine Laboratory. Her broader interests span plankton ecology, climate change impacts on marine ecosystems, and the use of remote sensing and spatial tools in oceanographic research. So today, she's going to talk us about From Deck to Data, Exploring Zooplankton and Life on a Sailing Research Expedition, which promises to be a very fun presentation. Sama, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. I am very, very happy to be here. So I'm just gonna share my screen. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Salma Sheini, and today I'm going to be taking you from deck to data while we explore zooplankton and life on a saline research expedition. Okay, so we are going to talk about 4 main areas, which is life at sea, where I tell you about the experiences of life on a sailing ship. We are also going to talk about why zooplankton matter and the research findings of my research, and also the lessons that I have taken away from this experience. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself, but I see that has already been done, so I'm just going to skip over this part. So before our expedition started, we had lectures from November to April where we talked about the various components that we were going to study aboard the vessel. So we talked about air-sea interactions, we talked about biological aspects, chemical, and everything before we joined the vessel. So we joined the vessel on April 21st, 2025 in Tromsø, Norway, and then we sailed down to Reykjavik in Iceland, and then to Mahon in Spain on 1st of June, and then to Nice in France on the 3rd of June. That was our final destination. We sailed approximately 5,000 nautical miles, and we spent about 35 days at sea across 4 countries. So the vessel that we were on was called the Statsraad Lehmkuhl, and it's a traditional sailing vessel. It was made in 1914 by the Germans, but it was taken by the British during the First World and then given back to the Norwegians. Then in the Second World War, it was taken by the Germans. Then it was given back to the Norwegians after the Second War. And it has been used by the Norwegians ever since. So it's a very, very old ship. So first of all, on the ship, we had a watch system. So we had 3 separate watches, which is like 3 groups. So we had the white watch, the red watch, and then the blue watch. When I joined the vessel, I was on the blue watch. And our shift starts from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then from 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. So what do we do on these watches? So we have 4 distinct duties during the watch duty period, which is the lookout, the buoy, the helm, and then the fire watch. So during the lookout, you stand at the front of the vessel and then you look into the ocean to check for other vessels or marine life or any obstacle that the ship could encounter. If you see any of those things, you have to ring a bell so that the officers on duty would come out and check and see if they have to do anything about it. And then for buoy watch, you have to check for any man overboard situation. So if you see anybody who falls into the ocean, you have to alert people so that they can help the person. And then for helms watch, you're at the helm of the ship, so you're basically doing the steering. So when you come on helm's watch, you go to the captain and then you ask him, or the officer on duty, you ask him which course you have to go, and then you tell you, and then you come and relieve the previous person, and then you follow the course. Well, in the beginning, it was quite challenging. We're just going in zigzags, but after a while, we got the hang of it, and we're doing a good job, I believe. And then for fire watch, you go around the vessel and then you check for all things that could pose a hazard to the ship, and then you check on the other watches like lookout, buoy, and then helm. And if you're not on any of these watches, you be on deck and you help with bracing. They're basically sailing duties, so you can be setting a sail or taking down a sail or any of those things. So yeah, so in the first leg, I was in the blue watch, and then in the second leg, I was in the red watch. Yeah. Then apart from all these watch duties and everything, we had some fun days, like the Norwegian Constitution Day, which we celebrated on May 17th. So you can see us in the picture. We are on our march with our watch leader. Afterwards, we had some nice alfresco up on deck. We had some games. I won some chocolates, and that was a fun time. We also had Pirates Days, which you can see in the pictures below, where we dressed up like pirates, had some food and some games. We also had some pirate quizzes, and my team won because we had a captain on our team. We also had sea shanty competitions where sea shanties that we composed ourselves. You can also see the pictures on the right where we can see our hammocks. That's where we sleep in. So in order to get into these hammocks, you have to brace yourself up into them. It was quite difficult the first few tries, but after a while, I think I got the hang of it. And below, you can see me on helm's duty, and a colleague is also on fire watch. He's about to ring the bell for change of ship. Yeah, so that was nice. Okay, so now we can move on to the science part of the expedition. So before I tell you about everything else, let's talk about why zooplankton matter. And one of the reasons why zooplankton matters is because they are very, very essential because they are the link between primary producers and higher trophic levels in the marine ecosystems. So they are able to connect phytoplankton to fish because they feed on phytoplankton, and then phytoplankton also feeds on them. And then they are also central to carbon cycle. They are able to move carbon cycle through the ocean, hence reducing the amount of CO2 we have. They're also indicators of ocean change. They act as early warning signs in our ecosystems and climate change. They are very, very sensitive to change in the ocean. So whenever there's any change in any of the parameters of the ocean, you can see a change in them. So when you study them, you're able to determine the health of the ocean because of these changes. They are also of economic relevance because if they feed the fish that we buy and eat, then they are of very good economic value to us because the fish industry is a very, very lucrative industry. So that's also an importance of zooplankton. So what kind of questions were we asking ourselves before we started our research? We asked how mesozooplankton change from the Arctic to the Mediterranean waters. We also asked how these patterns are related to temperature, salinity, and chlorophyll A. We also looked at how size and community shifts occur along that transit. That is from the colder northern Atlantic down to the warmer Mediterranean Ocean. Okay, so this map shows us our transit, which is from the south of Iceland all the way to the Western Mediterranean. We weren't able to sample from Tromsø, Norway to Iceland because we didn't get our nets in time. So that's why we were only able to start sampling from the southern parts of Iceland. So we didn't just use in situ method for our mesozooplankton analysis. We also did satellites of chlorophyll R. So we also used satellite data of chlorophyll A. And then we also used the CTD profiles, which we used to measure salinity and temperature. And then we also did the discrete chlorophyll analysis to merge with our satellite data to see if there was any differences in the values and the data that we were getting. So for our in situ zooplankton analysis, we used the WP2 net, which is a 180 micron mesh net for mesozooplankton analysis. We did a vertical tour of 0 to 200 meter depth, and then we also preserved the sample in ethanol for further analysis. I couldn't send the sample back to my country because it was a little expensive. But I worked with someone from the University of Tromsø, and then she took the samples to her university for further analysis. So looking at the temperature gradient from our CT, we could see that the temperature of the water was increasing as we moved along from the northern Atlantic waters to the Western Mediterranean Ocean. We can see that we had an average of 8 degrees Celsius in the Atlantic waters and then an average of 20 degrees Celsius at the Western Mediterranean Ocean. And we had an average salinity of 35.2 degrees and 35.2. And then when we look at the chlorophyll variability, we can see that comparing the discrete chlorophyll and the satellite, we can see the trend is almost the same. I think we have like approximately 85% correlation between the two data. So we can see that there's high productivity from where we started, and then productivity was decreasing along the transect. because temperature was also increasing and salinity was increasing. So what did we find in the cold Northern Atlantic? So from our preliminary observations, we could see that when we get the sample, we can visibly see very large copepods in our sample, even without looking in the microscope. So after the further analysis, we saw that the abundance was the highest in everything, especially in the beginning stations from 13 all the way down to 17. You could see a very high abundance, and also their sizes were also very big. Our temperature ranged from 48 degrees Celsius, salinity 34 to 35, chlorophyll 2.5 to 3.2. So, and then as we move southwards towards the Gibraltar Strait, we saw that the biomass was decreasing, and then the species diversity was also decreasing, size was also decreasing, and temperature was ranging from 12 to 15 degrees Celsius, and salinity 36.5 to 37, and chlorophyll 1.5 to 2. And then as we got to the Mediterranean waters, we noticed that the copepod abundance was very low, but the other species that was the meeting was the chitognaths and the salps, which are predatory species. And the species diversity was also lower, and then the sizes were also very small, with temperatures ranging from 18 degrees to 22 degrees Celsius, then salinity 37 to 38, and chlorophyll A 0.8 to 1.2. So when we got to the Gibraltar station, we noticed a high diversity in that area, even though it was a mix of the two sides, from the warm Mediterranean and then the northern cold waters. I think that that's the reason why the diversity was quite high there, even though there was also a large number of other predatory species like the chitognaths and the salps. We also had a high diversity of copepods and other zooplankton species. But temperature was also around 18 degrees, salinity 36, and then chlorophyll 1.8. So in this analysis, we saw that temperature was a primary driver of all the size and structure and then abundance of zooplankton. So we can confidently say that because nutrients is more available in the colder Northern Atlantic, the copepods were larger and had high biomass, while the warmer Mediterranean waters had smaller, more gelatinous species and also smaller copepods. And then for salinity and chlorophyll, we also see that as salinity increased and chlorophyll A decreased, also affected the zooplankton distribution. Where there was less food, there was less abundance, and where there was higher food, there was higher abundance. And where there was low salinity, there was higher abundance, and where there was higher salinity, there was lower abundance. So, lessons from the deck. So sampling under pressure requires coordination. So basically, the ship was also a whole entity on its own, and we're trying to do science on the vessel. So these are two parts trying to come together to achieve an aim. So you have to work together with the ship's crew and everything in order to coordinate. Also, weather was something that we also had to deal with, because when we left Iceland, we encountered a storm for 3 days. During those 3 days, we couldn't do any science. We were all trapped inside, and we were all waiting for the storm to pass. So sometimes these are some of the challenges that we faced, but we all worked together, and then we were able to achieve our aim. We also adapted to the ship's rhythm. So you know that at this time you are on a watch duty, or at this time you are supposed to be here. So if everybody does what they are supposed to do, we can all achieve our aims. So if you know you're supposed to be on fire watch and someone is supposed to, so you can switch with someone if you want to do your science, and the person can go for your shift for you, then you can switch again. When we did this, we realized that we were able to all do what we came here to do. And then international teamwork. So I didn't work alone. I also worked with other people, and then to be able to achieve our goals of working on zooplankton. So I worked with someone from the University of Tromsø, and she worked on the analysis of the samples, and I worked on collecting the data with her and everything. So collaboration made the dream work. So what's next for the data? So once you use the ZooScan to be able to analyze the images it produces, then we use the ecotaxa to be able to classify them. We also want to do some genetic analysis on the data and be able to integrate the data. We also want to open up and be able to analyze the data with other parameters like currents and all that to be able to get a broader picture of what our data is telling us. So yeah, that's the next step for our data. We also want to do a temporal trend to see, because we only got data on during a specific period, which is from May to June. So maybe if we can get a more temporal analysis, it will give us a bigger picture of what we may not be seeing in just one data set. Yeah. So I also want to thank everybody who made this possible, our partner organizations, which was the ESA Ocean, the European Space Agency, and the Plymouth Science Foundation, the University of Tromsø, the Plymouth Marine Laboratory, and also the team, and then the mentors, which is Dr. Craig, who was the ESA mentor and then the coordinator for the program, Eva Chamorro, the one I worked with, my co-scientist. I also want to thank Dr. Shuba, Dr. Laika, Dr. Nandini, and Liz Susan Hawkins and Chris Morris from TS and Trevor Platt Science Foundation and the Plymouth Marine Laboratory. Thank you all for making this work. So if anybody has any questions or wants me to elaborate on something else.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Salma, for a very interesting talk. And let's see if we have some questions in the Q&A section. And let me see if I found it. Here it is. I don't see yet any question there, but please, if anybody has a question, write it there. And meanwhile, maybe I can have a couple of... sorry, yes, please, Shuba.
Lika has her hand raised. She has a question, I think.
Let's see.
Hi, while the audience is warming up and stop being shy and preparing their questions, thank you, Salma, for the great presentation. It was an adventure, huh? Sounds
Yes,
exciting to be really part of a vessel, not only doing the science part, but really participating in all activities.
Yeah.
I was wondering what were the scientific skills or methods that you learned during the training that you are now, you brought with you back home and you're applying to your work at the Fisheries Commission now?
Yes, so
thank you
too. So during the expedition, we learned how to correlate our data, our institute data with scientific data. So I learned about the various satellites that we have to be able to use for ocean data, like Sentinel-2. And now sometimes I'll be using it at work. Yes, it's one of the things I'll be using at work. Yeah.
There is a question, I think I'm going to take over for Vivian if she doesn't mind. So Milton Campbell has a question for you in the chat. First, he congratulates you for your excellent presentation and for sharing such rich experience from the oceanographic cruise under this great initiative. And he says that you mentioned your interest in temporal variability. So how do you plan to address this aspect in your research?
So for temporal variability, if I'm not able to get the opportunity to be able to do such research myself, I would like to collaborate with other researchers who may be doing similar research in the seasons that I'm interested in. So that could be how I could be able to address this aspect in my research.
Milton has a
Hello?
supplementary question, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, please.
He
Yeah,
said-
he complimented. Sorry, Shubha, go on.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So he gives an example. Do you intend to use time series from ocean color satellite data to investigate variability patterns over longer periods?
Yes. That's also an idea that I can also look into to be able to investigate the variability, but that will only be using satellite data without the in-situ aspect of it. So I think both of them will complement each other if that's available.
Okay. Thank you. So, Shubha, do you have any question for Salma?
Yes, please, thank you.
Go
First
ahead.
of all, Salma, thank you very much for a very nice presentation. I enjoyed that. It must have been a really exciting cruise all those days on the ship.
Yes.
You didn't mention it, but I think you went through a big storm, isn't it, right at the beginning?
Yes, so when we got to Iceland, when we left Iceland, there was a really big storm for 3 days. I think during those 3 days, I didn't eat any food because I was afraid I was gonna throw up. I was only drinking water and juice because I didn't want to eat anything and throw up. It was quite scary, but I mean, it was part of the experience. And as a scientist, I think you have to brave it all.
Indeed, yes, yes. And I thought maybe you mentioned the shanties you were singing. I thought
Yes.
maybe you will share a video with us of all of you singing the shanty. Do you have one?
Yeah. Unfortunately I don't have a video of the shanty. I think my external was corrupted, so I don't have a video of it, but I'll try to find one and
You should try to
I'll
find
share
one
it.
because it was quite impressive,
Yes,
very impressive, really,
yes.
to hear
And
all
for
of you singing together.
yeah.
Yeah,
And for the first leg, my team won the shanty competition.
shanty competition. Oh, good.
Yes.
I know that. But on a more serious vein,
Yeah.
I was listening to your presentation. I was thinking that you have really nice and interesting results. Do you plan to write them up as a paper?
Yes, so that's one of the plans that I and my co-scientists are planning on doing. So she doesn't have a lot of time right now, but it's something that we're looking forward to doing. Yes.
That'd be nice. That would be nice achievement from the trip, right?
Yes.
So that would come before the question that Milton was asking, how are you going to extend it? I think you have enough results now to write up a paper, no?
Yes. We also want to include other parameters too. So I think that would be interesting to look at it from various aspects. Yeah.
Yeah. Really,
So can I ask, maybe Shubha, you know the answer, because there was a similar training a few years ago, right? I suspect that they would have also in 2022, I believe. We had
yeah,
TPSF
there was one around
members.
Africa.
Yeah. So it's different region.
Different.
Because I was wondering if it was a similar region, they could compare the samples
Yeah,
of both
no.
cruises.
The only one I know of, Nandini may be able to supplement it. It was a portion of Africa that they covered.
Okay.
But the people who participated in that were also very enthusiastic about the experience, about the team building, the working together, collaboration, all those aspects. So very nice.
Yeah. The first one was in 2020, 23, 22 end and 23 beginning. And they went around Africa. And three from our Nansen Center, Kochi, also participated there. They were very enthusiastic about it. And if I remember correct, they have brought out a publication as well.
Yeah, I think it's a really memorable experience for those who get a chance to participate in that. Quite a remarkable experience.
Yes, I was thinking when I read and I listened to this talk that I wish I had such an experience when I was a young researcher, because joining two beautiful things, marine science and a sailing boat on board. Really nice. So I have also a couple of questions for Sama. One scientific one, if somebody was looking at the phytoplankton composition apart from the zooplankton.
I didn't get the question. Can you please repeat?
If somebody was looking or taking samples to analyze the phytoplankton composition.
Yes.
Okay.
There were some people who were doing it, who were taking phytoplankton. Yes.
Great, because that will be also nice for your work interpreting the differences in zooplankton and the food chain. Nice.
That's true.
What was the instrument, Salma? They had something. What is plankton scope? Was it that they had?
Yes, they had the plankton scope, and then they had the curiosity microscope, so you could visualize your samples. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Would have liked
And
that.
then the copy picture.
Had,
that was I took the pictures with the microscope.
Oh, it's a bit broken.
I think maybe I can add to that. They had this new instrument, I'd never seen it before, where you can actually visualize the phytoplankton in a live, in a sample, and then identify everything that they see down to at least generic level, maybe species, I don't know. So you get they were monitoring the biodiversity also, not just chlorophyll or pigments.
Yeah, like a flow cam.
No, maybe you can explain better.
It's similar to a flowcom, but I think it's quite simple to use compared to the flowcom, and you don't need such an elaborate setup. You can just set it up on a table. Yes, yeah.
Good, more affordable probably also.
Yeah, much more affordable.
Yeah. Much smaller,
nice.
Yes.
Yeah. And I have another question more on the sailing.
Saskia may be able to also add to the discussion.
Yeah,
He was also on the cruise as an instructor. Saskia, can you talk?
I think she sent a link.
Okay, sending a link. Good. I'm not sure, I don't handle this part, but I'm not sure if the audience can talk also, but I can speak, but someone can describe it. Okay, yes, but she's on the link, so that would be nice to look at. Good, thank you, Saska.
I don't think the link has worked. At least for me, it's not working.
I don't want to press any button because I'm from the cell phone and I don't want to miss the connection.
I'm curious because I hear a lot about plankton scope, but I don't know how it's working.
So sorry, I'm speaking at the same time.
Okay, and the final question, here is planktoscope.org.
Planktoscope.org, yeah.
Planktoscope.org. Okay, and a final, more fun question for Salma. Apart from scientists, were there any regular passengers just sailing around in the ship, or was all dedicated to science?
Yes, so for the first leg, there were other scientists, people who were on vacation, people who just wanted to see how a sail ship works. Yeah, people who were just looking for an adventure. Yes, they were all a part of us and we were all working together. Yes, for the first leg, yes, it was a mix of scientists and just regular passengers.
Quite an experience.
I think it's worth mentioning as well that the cruise ended during the oh my God, the UNOC Ocean Conference. Yes. Yeah. So were you and your colleagues able to participate in the activities at the UNOC?
Oh, not really. I think most of us left on the 4th of June, and I think that was when the conference was just starting out. But we were able to have some talks on the ship before we left, yes.
I remember a certain Dr. Shubha Satyendranath presenting in the ship.
Yes, yes. We were able to get the opportunity to hear from her on the ship, yes.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you were there too, right? For the talk.
Watching, yes.
You were on the dock in Leeds.
As the #1 fan, I was at the first queue.
Okay, I think we don't have any more questions. So Milton and everybody saying thank you for the talk. And
Thank you too.
So nice to meet you, Salma, and goodbye to everybody, and we'll meet in the next webinar. Okay.
Thank you very much, Salma. I really enjoyed that. Brought
Thank
back
you.
memories.
Yes. And thank you, Patricia, and the people from the Earth Center for hosting this webinar as usual.
Thank you, Saskia. Thank you, Patricia.
Yes.
Air Center. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining in.
Thank you, Salma. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Vivian, I'll see you soon, right?
I will see you in, yes, in
Also. Yeah.
less than half an hour. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Salma. Bye-bye.
Bye.